casa y con ustedes no. Entonces empezaron a ver, vinieron a esa casa, ya la habían comenzado a remodelar. Y entonces, esta casa madre. Primero yo cubrí con Yachter, ya tengo 25 años trabajando con y entonces el papelito de pareja, no, tampoco se me cambió. Vamos a hacer lo que tú quieras. Por todo, y yo le dije que yo quiero mi cocina. Tu cocina de manera yo quiero cocinar, yo de noche quiero levantarme y decir, a la gana me hago lo que quiera. Y ahí tengo todo. Todo lo único que hizo ella en la lavadora. Un niño no se fue a renovar. Pues ay, abuelita. Los lunes, porque ahora la niña tiene que estar en el oscuro. Y el gordo está en primer grado, está en quinto en elemento. Entonces mi yerno lleva a la niña y yo me encargo de llevar a la niña a la parada. Y entonces ahí oramos porque eres asmático y tienes miedo porque la madre le dio un peligro o esa máscara. Por eso yo me cuido tanto por el niño, porque no hay vacuna todavía. La niña ya la vacunaron, la niña cumplió años. El jueves y el viernes le estaban poniendo la vacuna porque mi hija, como es científica, ya creen en la vacuna. Y entonces yo me puse la vacuna por ello, porque si el niño se vacuna, que vamos a ponerme la vacuna.
Time it is. It's time for our song and dance. Many of you remember how to do this, right? Alright, if you're able to, stand up, arms up, get a little bounce in there. Turn to your neighbor, say, born a champion. Turn to your other neighbor, say, I was born a champion. Woohoo! Alright. Need an adjustment now? She's giving you the elbow, the shoulder. So nice to see everybody. Welcome. I'm Dr. Yachter. If I haven't met you, I see some guests. Elaine, yes. Pleasure to meet you. Oh, this is like it's like being in church. I'm just listening to all the happy people out here and fellowshipping. So thank you so much for being here today. So, how many of you have been to a workshop before? Raise your hand. Great. Good. Give yourself a pat on the back. Keep your hand up if you've been to 5 or more workshops. 10 or more workshops? 20 or more? 30? 40? 50? 70? 80? Lost count? Good. Wonderful, wonderful. Give them a big round of applause. All right. So I like to do that in the beginning of the workshop so everybody kind of sees what this is all about. This is not a one-hit wonder. It's really more like a Pringles potato chip. Once you have one, you just can't get enough. And many of you guys have been to a cancer workshop before. You've been coming to cancer workshops. You've been coming to all the workshops for 5, 10, 15 years, 20 years, some of you guys. And that's how long we've been doing these workshops, 20, 21 years. And, you know, you keep learning and you keep growing. Because when you stop learning and you stop growing, you start what? Dying. And so we have a spirit of constant and never-ending improvements. Right or right? Right. Awesome. So tonight we're going to talk about cancer prevention. Next month, we have our diabetes and blood sugar control workshop. Is that important? Yeah. Yep. Because it's not so much even about being diabetic now. It's being pre-diabetic, which is the vast majority of people. And the problem with that is we know that it causes all types of problems with heart and blood vessels and vision and amputations. But the big thing that we're seeing more than ever now is Alzheimer's and dementia. How many of you guys knew that diabetes was related to that? Really, really important. So put this one on your calendar. It's going to be 4 weeks from tonight. Also remember that the workshops now officially start at 5:45. Yes. So hopefully you guys are okay with that, and the beat goes on. Uncommon courtesy is just one of these quick little things I just want to remember. For everybody, if you have a cell phone, please put it on vibrate, silent, off, because believe it or not, some people actually take their calls in the middle of our workshops or other things. Also, unless it's an absolute emergency, please try to refrain from using the restroom, because once one person goes, then we see the line back up, and that does tend to become a distraction for the rest of the class. So keep those things in mind, and again, with consideration to our friendly neighbors, we're all here to learn, and so we want to try to focus on the topic at hand, which is what? Cancer. Historically, we've always heard that cancer is 1 out of 2 men and 1 out of 3 women, but if you're not aware of it right now, some journals are showing it's 1 out of 2 men and 1 out of 2 women. So it's really pretty much everybody at some point in their life is going to have a run-in with this. And I'm not going to ask you for a raise of hands, but I'd be willing to guess that most of you in this room have already had that at one point or another. We have to live our lives on a day-to-day basis like we actually do have cancer. Not that I'm speaking that over you, not that I want that for anybody, but the reality is your body makes cancer cells every single day, right? Doesn't it? And it's only when we let too many of these little things slip under the radar that cancer gets out of control and gets a foothold. So what you're going to learn tonight is how to stay on top of these things and nip as many of them in the bud as possible. Your genetic expression would be, I guess, part of what runs in your family, right? How many of you guys have cancer that runs in your family? Some of you have heart disease that runs in your family, diabetes. So we know that your genes play a part in it. But how many of you guys knew that your genes only play a small percentage of it? Literally 5 to 10% of whether or not you get cancer or diabetes or heart disease is your parents' fault. 90 to 95% is whose fault? Yours. And that is your lifestyle. It's the environment that you're bathing your DNA in, which causes cancer-promoting genes or cancer-fighting genes. You're going to express them one way or the other depending on your lifestyle. Depending on your what? Your lifestyle. So you see those 4 little icons up there: function, fitness, nutrition, education. That's the Elevation Health Core 4. That's our delivery system to disease prevention. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. How do you turn off the cancer promoting genes, and how do you turn on the cancer fighting genes? So if you're interested in learning that, stay tuned. Don't turn the station, because we're going to show you the exact mechanisms that are going to enable you to do that. Also, I'm going to show you how to find out whether or not you are more prone to having cancer-fighting genes turned off and cancer-promoting genes turned on. Some of us in this room have more of a predisposition to that than others. And some of it does have to do with your DNA. But wouldn't it be great if you knew that you were one of those people and you knew exactly what you could do to support that? That would eliminate a lot of the guesswork, wouldn't it? So tonight I'm going to give you an opportunity to learn exactly what that is. You're investing your time right now. And for some of you guys, you've been here before, you've done that, you're taking some measures. Maybe you're sitting here right now and you need to go to the next level. You need to take the next steps. There's going to be something here for everybody tonight. I can promise you that. So step number 1 to cancer prevention is eliminate cancer-causing drugs and testing. What are cancer-causing drugs? Well, some of them are prescription medication, some of them are over-the-counter medication, and some of them are just recommendations as far as medication by your doctors and also testing. Some of these things we've just thought we should do it. But basically all of us were born into a medicine chest. We were born into a medicine chest. What does that mean? That if you live in this country, if you have an ill, you're taught to take a what? Take a pill, yeah. So we take an aspirin a day to keep the doctor away. And, we thought that was a good idea, but studies have emerged that eventually showed us that an aspirin a day for 5 years or more increased the risk of breast cancer by what? 80%. Another study relative to cholesterol drugs, if you were here last month, we talked about this, that cholesterol drugs have been shown to increase your risk of breast cancer by anywhere from 83 to 143%. Yeah. Antibiotics. Well, if antibiotics weaken your immune system, and your immune system is what's supposed to be fighting off cancer, hello? The more antibiotics that you take, whether it's for a tooth, a throat infection, a this infection, a that infection. It's not a one-hit wonder. It's all cumulative. And the more of this that you've had in your past and you continue to do in your present, you're increasing your risk of cancer. Blood pressure medications, 4 of them were recalled in the last few years for having cancer-causing impurities in them. Do you remember that if you were here at the workshop last month? So for those of us in this room who are okay with taking prescription medications and ongoing testing, medical testing, realize that this is a factor that does what? Increases your risk of cancer. Who's here to prevent cancer? Okay, so can we all agree that it's a good idea to look and see what you may still be doing and what you can do better? That would be a good idea. We want you not only to learn the information, but there should be what else? Application. Yeah, information without application is hallucination. Okay, I thought somebody was going to get that, but that's okay. So what about mammography? Is mammography a good idea? Every time, some of us have a concern about radiation when we take x-rays. The little films that we take in this office at 1/100th of a second exposure, that does not increase your risk of cancer from that. But when you have a chest x-ray or a mammogram, 200 times the exposure, and you do that every year, yeah, there's a concern for that. And furthermore, now all the studies are showing that it doesn't really save lives. So I'm going to show you a quick clip, a video from a medical doctor that's being interviewed, an expert from a university. So you can hear the summary of what the most recent research is suggesting as far as mammographies and whether or not they're appropriate.
This study shows us that the benefits of mammography are less than we had hoped for, and the potential harms are greater than we had anticipated. This study reported that a large population of women that are randomized to get screening mammography and a good breast exam versus those that don't get the screening mammography, that there's no difference whatsoever in subsequent mortality.
Does this study give you pause about recommending mammography?
This study adds to an accumulation of data. Over the last 5 years, we have been seeing more data from multiple large studies showing at a population level that we're not seeing the benefit from mammography that we had hoped. The more you look, the more you find with screening mammograms, and we are unfortunately potentially detecting a lot of tumors that the women would have lived with for their entire lives and it would have never harmed them. And this is called overdiagnosis. This is a screening test, and so they see abnormalities and they ask the women to come back. In other words, they'll send a letter or they'll call the woman to say, "Dear Mrs. Smith, don't worry, but an abnormality was noted. It might be cancer. We need you to come back for additional testing." The great majority of those episodes don't end up diagnosing cancer, and so we call those false positives. Once a woman is diagnosed, we don't know if she's the one that is potentially benefiting from mammography or if she's the one that our treatment is so good it could cure her regardless of whether she was diagnosed early, or if she's one of those women that was overdiagnosed and we're going to overtreat, which can include mastectomies, radiation therapy, chemotherapy.
Interesting, isn't it?
I don't think women realize that in the United States, we are the only country in the world that encourages women to start at age 40 and to go every year. There are some other countries, such as the UK, that start screening in the late 40s, early 50s, and have women go every 3 years. I don't think we also realize that we're spending about $8 billion every year to pay for all of the breast cancer screening. And the fact that there's a major scientific paper that was published showing that we're not getting that benefit that we all had hoped for, that's concerning.
So why is it that we see that in this country? It's kind of like, the United States and New Zealand are the only two countries in the world where it's legal to advertise prescription drugs. Why is that? Well, it's money. So look at the pink ribbon. You see that everywhere. And do you know what that is? That's a front runner, or they call it a fundraiser, but it's really, a business for the screenings, which they're talking about is a huge business, because the more people that they get screened, the more false positives they're going to find, and the more testing that they do, the more cases they're going to have to use treatments on. So this is an industry, in spite of what the studies show. Do you see how dangerous this is? Not to mention, the licenses that look at, Kentucky Fried Chicken, M&Ms, the NFL. In order to, position themselves as humanitarians, they pay big money to the Susan B. Komen Foundation. I mean, this is a huge, huge business that raises billions and billions of dollars, not one step closer to a cure. Can you see the problem with this, guys? Breast cancer awareness was originally founded by a drug company, AstraZeneca. They already had these drugs, Arimidex, tamoxifen, to treat breast cancer. So the more people are screened, guess what? The more application they can make with their drugs. See how it works? Create a problem, you got the solution. So, does the money go for education or prevention? No. It goes for more testing, more false positives, more unnecessary treatments, procedures, anxiety that goes with it, which causes what? More cancer. Yeah, so it's not just with the mammographies, it's with the PSA testing also. And this has long been established that the PSA doesn't mean that you have prostate cancer. Prostatic specific antigen is just a measure of what's happening with your prostate as it naturally enlarges with age. It could be affected by infections, inflammation of the prostate. I mean, when a man gets older, it's normal for the prostate to enlarge in a benign fashion. So you could have a PSA of 25, 27 and have no prostate cancer, and you can have a normal PSA and have full-blown prostate cancer. And we know that, right? So that's why they found, this was almost 20 years ago, inconclusive evidence that screenings improve early detection outcomes. Prostate exams recently have been determined inappropriate for non-symptomatic men. Inappropriate. So, over-testing, over-utilization, and as the doctor said, that if it was just left alone, cancer is a normal part of life. In most cases, the body takes care of itself. The body heals itself. Have you ever heard that before? The body heals itself? Yeah. Well, not a very profitable, mantra, but true nonetheless. UCLA Comprehensive Cancer Center said radiation can transform benign breast cancer cells into highly malignant cells. Again, talk about waking up a sleeping giant. So when my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2017, they found these little masses in her breast, and the doctor, of course, said do a biopsy. And I said, Mom, it may not be a good idea. You may want to just leave it alone for a little while. Go get another, mammogram, a few months from now. See what happens. Leave it alone. Well, the doctor wants to do a biopsy. I said, did you know that when you stick a needle in that thing, when you do a biopsy, it can cause it to spread? Yeah. And she made a decision based on fear and the anxiety and all the worry that came with it from the doctor. The what ifs, what ifs, what ifs, what ifs, and sure enough, it metastasized to her liver. So these are the things you need to be aware of, because when you do these tests, you're subjecting yourself to what the doctors tell you to do. And they play by their rules, they play by their standard of care, which is far removed from wait, watch, and see. Most medical doctors are not conservative in nature. Most of them will want to do the radical testing right away. And so, when you have radiation, when you have chemotherapy, you're putting toxins into the body, and especially things like radiation can wake a sleeping giant. It doesn't kill the cancer stem cells. So when you weaken the body with the application of those treatments, it leaves the body weaker, and it leaves the cancer another opportunity for a return visit. How many of you have seen that before, right? So if you look at the dirty fishbowl up there, you see all the fish swimming around in the dirt and that disgusting environment. It's a bad environment. And, can we poison the fish back to health? Is that a good idea? No? Or what would be a good solution? Should we change the water? For us, for everybody in the room, that's a silly question, right? But I wonder the same thing. When we're praying for people, and I hear the prayers of the people, it's like, we pray for the doctor to have wisdom, they're getting the chemotherapy treatments, they're getting the radiation treatments, pray that the doctor has wisdom and that the treatments will work. And to me, that's just a conundrum. That's like having cancer and eating all your meals through a drive-through window. What you're not correcting the cause, the source, and the root of the problem. Now, I understand that sometimes there are situations where there are tumors that are obstructing organs, and it could be life or death because there's something in the way of a person being able to function normally, and sometimes that has to be. But as a matter of general fact, can you poison somebody back to health? No, but very few people understand that. Very few people get that fact. Most people, generally speaking, when they understand that they have cancer, the concept that they have burned into them from the doctors is that you have to kill the cancer. You have to kill it, you have to radiate it, you have to, chemotherapy, you have to drill it out. You have to get it out. You have to kill the cancer like it's something that actually caused the problem, and it's not. Cancer just grew out of an opportunity in an already sick person, in an already sick host. Is that not making sense? So you can kill the cancer, right? And you can poison the body in pursuit of that, but then what have you done to the condition that created it in the first place? Have you made it any better? No. So if that was me and I was doing that approach, I would be scared out of my wits. Because I may have killed the cancer, but I decimated my immune system, which is desperately needed to rebound from cancer, to recover from cancer. That's why you see so many of these cases that they have a return bout. They have a second bout. The cancer is returned. It's because the cause of the condition was never addressed. So what do we have to do? As in the example of the fishbowl, you got to change the water. You have to change the internal environment. The body has to be sick first, and then it gets cancer. The body has to be sick first, and then it gets COVID. The person has to be sick first, right? And then they get the infection. Does that make sense? So garbage has to be there first, then you get the flies. The flies don't cause the garbage. You can kill the flies, but if you leave the garbage there, what are you going to have? Another problem, another mess on your hands. So this is a different concept, and hopefully, you guys will start, making application to this, because if you do it before you have cancer and you start living your life with these concepts, you'll significantly reduce your risk of cancer. Is everybody with me right now? So changing your internal environment basically means turn on the cancer-fighting genes and turning off the cancer-promoting genes. And that's what we're going to cover right now. Dr. Otto Warburg, a 1931 Nobel Prize winner for cancer discovery, said that cancer cannot survive in an alkaline environment. Cancer cannot survive in a what? In an alkaline environment. It cannot exist in an alkaline environment. So that means your body really should be, your bloodstream, your blood pH, that really should be slightly alkaline. Now, we're not talking about your alimentary canal, your digestive. We know that it's acidic in there. It has to be. But your blood pH needs to be slightly alkaline, and that's a healthy environment. And, if you look at the pool, the one on the left is green, the one on the right is blue. Which pool would you rather swim in? Blue. What's wrong with the green one? Why don't you want to swim in that? What's wrong with it? It's sick. It's sick. So, because it's sick, because it's out of balance, the bacteria, the algae, all that has an opportunity to grow in it. But if you keep the pH, if you keep the chemicals in the pool and the pH balanced, does the algae have an opportunity to grow? It's the same thing inside of your body. If you keep your pH balanced, then cancer, yeast, mold, fungus, all these things that we don't like that cause infections, viruses, bacteria, generally speaking, they don't have as good a chance to survive and thrive if you keep the pH slightly alkaline. And that's it. Again, this is in the bloodstream that we're talking about. So here's an example of what the blood field may look like on the right side, that's what healthy looks like. Can you see all the cells there? Can you guys see that? What do you notice about those cells? There's like an aura around the cells. What is that? That's the cell membrane. Cell membrane, that's where life occurs. That's the most basic, fundamental, foundational component of it. It's permeable. It's made of fat. What is it made up of? Fat. So it's permeable, so that's how the nutrients get in and the toxins get out. So that cell membrane is absolutely key. Now also on the inside of those cells, you have a positive charge. And on the outside of those cells, it's negatively charged. And that's important because that negative charge actually causes those cells to somewhat repel each other so they can shoot through the bloodstream carrying the oxygen at full force. So when you're carrying oxygen and you're maximally oxygenated, guess what? That's an alkaline environment. More oxygen equals more energy. Raise your hand if you want more energy. All right? Fiona, you're staying awake. That's good. All right? So she knows I love her. I can do that all night. All right. So you got those charges, right? So now here's what creates that blood field like that. Maintaining an alkaline environment, eating foods by God, fruits, vegetables, low sugar fruits, low sugar vegetables. As an example, these are all alkaline foods: lemons, limes, tomatoes, avocados, alkaline water. Not Dasani. Dasani could be like 5.5 in their pH, but when you see, like on the label, and very often it'll show you the pH of the water. So you want to get a water that's 7 or above. But these types of foods, water-rich vegetables and fruits, the more of that you have, then the more that your lifestyle gravitates toward that, the more your blood field looks like that, and the less cancer has a chance to get a foothold. That's conducive to starving cancer out of the body if a person has it. This over here, on the other hand, you can see all those foods fall below the normal pH. What do you see there? Not foods by God, you see foods by man. Stuff made in the laboratory, processed meats, alcohol, caffeine, trans fats, sugar, artificial sweeteners, corn syrup, lots and lots of sugar. So, this leaves the blood field in an acidic state. Now, acidic, you know how harmful acid is, and you know how delicate the fat on the cell membrane is. So what happens is it destroys the cell membrane. A normal functioning cell membrane will actually collapse. And if it disrupts the integrity of that cell membrane, all those nice positive charges that were on the inside, they all come out. And when all those positive charges come out, they're not repelling each other anymore. They're what? They're clumping and sticking together. And now when they clump and stick together, can they move the oxygen through the bloodstream? No. So now you have all that clumping. You don't have a lot of oxygen. You have something that cancer loves. It's called fermentation. What's it called? Fermentation. You know why? Cancer doesn't use oxygen. It uses fermentation for respiration. So that's what it is, and that's what this Nobel Prize winner said back in 1931, 90 years ago. He said cancer only has one primary cause, the replacement or respiration of oxygen in normal cells by a fermentation of what? Sugar. Okay? So now, okay, the guilt is starting to swell up. Right? Oh, not my sugar. Oh. Okay, so listen, so we're going to start on a basic level. You guys know what sugar is, but you don't know which sugars and how it all filters down. So I want you to watch this video. This is from a CBS interview with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
Sorry, I'm having trouble with the connection. Please try again in a moment.
If you limit your sugar, you decrease your chances of developing cancer.
Absolutely.
Cantley, a Harvard professor and the head of the Beth Israel Deaconess Cancer Center, says when we eat or drink sugar, it causes a sudden spike in the hormone insulin, which can serve as a catalyst to fuel certain types of cancers.
What we're beginning to learn is that insulin can cause adverse effects in various tissues. And of particular concern is cancer.
Why? Nearly a third of some common cancers, including breast and colon cancers, have something called insulin receptors on their surface. Insulin binds to these receptors and signals the tumor to start consuming glucose.
So this is your body eating.
Every cell in our body needs glucose to survive. But the trouble is, these cancer cells also use it to grow.
So if you happen to have a tumor that has insulin receptors on it, then it will get stimulated to take up the glucose that's in the bloodstream. So rather than going into the fat or the muscle, the glucose now goes into the tumor, and the tumor uses it to grow.
So you've just seen that tumor turn blue, which is essentially reflective of the glucose going into it.
That's right.
So these cancers, much in the same way that muscle will say, hey, I'd like some of that glucose. The fat says, I would like some of that glucose. The cancers have learned how to do this themselves as well?
Yes, so they have evolved the ability to hijack that flow of glucose that's going by in the bloodstream into the tumor itself.
Okay. So, like we said, we all have cancer cells in our body at any given moment, and your body knows where they are and what to do with it. But if you wanted to help your body prevent cancer based on what you just learned, what would be a good idea to have less of? Sugar. So I've talked about the paleo diet before, and I'll cover it briefly again tonight. So in the paleo diet, it's proteins, low sugar fruits, vegetables. What else? Fats, good fats. What do you not see in that paleo diet? Sugar, grains, pasta, bread, rice, cereal, any of that stuff. So this is nothing new, but now you're seeing it and you're understanding it in a new context. And this is for cancer prevention. Now, if you, God forbid, were diagnosed with cancer, let's say you just had a conversation with your doctor, okay, knowing that you just saw what actually feeds and fuels many of the cancers, that the breast, colon, prostate, right? What can you do to cut off the fuel source to the cancer? Sugar, right? So if that's the case, then maybe you start looking at something called the keto diet, the ketogenic diet. Okay, so there's several ways to go about this. It just depends who you are, where you are, and what you need. But these concepts are applicable to all of us, whether we're preventing cancer or treating cancer. It's a good place to start is read the labels. If you're not reading labels, then you'll never be able to get a jump on this. When you look at a label and it says corn syrup, what is that? Sugar. That's sugar on steroids. Okay, that's sugar on steroids. And you're going to find this in fruit bars. You're going to find this in Nutri-Grain bars. You're going to find this in some of the healthiest looking foods that you pick off the shelf and may lurk in your pantry. You go through that, you're going to see that half the ingredients in there are sugar, and the other half are bad fats, which are cancer causing, and the other half you can't pronounce because it was made in a laboratory. So all toxic, all sugar. If you're not reading the label, this is what you're allowing to go into your body. And if you're serious about this, that's a good place to start. So read the label. So bread, pasta, rice, potatoes, cereals. But, they say that the Cheerios are good for your heart. Can I not have Cheerios? I don't care what they say. It's all clever marketing, guys. If you read the label and you know that it's something that actually turns to sugar, I know that we think that whole grains is a must for our diet and a healthy lifestyle. And what you're going to learn tonight is that, no, you do just fine without it. You get your vitamins, your minerals. Hey, do plants, do cows eat grains, or are they better off, eating grass? Yeah, they're healthier when they eat the grass. But because they want, people want to fatten them up, they're taught to eat grain. And that makes us sick and unhealthy. That should tell us something. That we don't need grains like we think that we do. So if we want to prevent cancer, or especially if you have cancer, you're trying to beat it, these are the things that need to be eliminated. So look at this picture up here for breakfast. We have our grits, our eggs, and our bacon. And you got your bread there too. You got your whole wheat bread. What's wrong with that picture? Is that a healthy, wholesome breakfast? No. What's wrong with it? The bread. Okay, there's one thing. And then what else? And the grits. What are grits? Corn. Yeah, corn is a grain. If you didn't know that. Okay, so not a great way to start a healthy day. What's wrong with the oatmeal there? What's wrong with that picture? It's green. It's green. You know, it's and then you got your brown sugar in there. Who knows? And, nothing necessarily wrong with the fruit, but it's what you do to that picture there. And there you got your Nutri-Grain bars. Again, read the label. What about the Egg McMuffin? You know, we get in trouble with that. You know, those drive-through windows will get us in trouble. You save time, you save money, but you don't spare any expense when it comes to treating disease, because that's a lot more expensive. What about these? The burritos, the wrap. Yeah. What is it? What do you see? What is it wrapped with? Something healthy or unhealthy? Yeah. What do they make those tortillas with? Grain. Yeah. Flour enriched. So even the spinach ones, you know, if you look at the ingredients, you'll see it's enriched wheat flour. All right, so you got my pollo la plancha, which I love. How many of you guys like pollo la plancha? All right. Now, if you're a cancer patient or a diabetes patient, what is wrong with this picture?
Like beans.
Rice and beans. Rice and beans. What it's going to do is it's going to jack your insulin. Okay. When insulin goes up, you're feeding the tumors. You're feeding the cancer. So this is the problem. And again, it's there are other things that we can do. How about yogurt? Good Lord, Dr. Yachter, I thought yogurt was healthy. Read the label. You'd be surprised to see how much sugar is in yogurt. Did you know that?
Yes.
Why do you think it tastes so good? All right. What's wrong with the chicken and the potatoes? Yeah. So they mix the potatoes with what? Butter, milk, right? And I could guarantee you that if you didn't make that yourself, they're not using real butter, using country crock or something like that, which again is toxic. And you got the breadcrumbs on there. What about that? You got your steak and potatoes. Yeah. So that's going to drive your blood sugar. How about your stir fry? Rice is going to drive the blood sugar. How about your linguine there? Is that all going to drive your blood sugar? So that's, what do you eat, for goodness sake? Okay, you're one step ahead of me. Before I show you, I'm not done with showing you what not to do. I got to show you what to do instead. One more thing. So it's not just the sugars, it's the bad fats. The sugars also drive inflammation. Not only do they feed cancer, they drive inflammation, which spreads cancer. The other thing that spreads the cancer and drives inflammation are the bad fats. These hydrogenated oils, partially hydrogenated oils, things like corn oil, canola oil, soybean oil, safflower, sunflower oil. When you see this in the label, don't walk, run. You want to just make a better choice, because this is causing inflammation at the surface of the cell, which is destroying the cells, which is ruining the environment of your DNA, and it's causing the expression of those cancer-promoting genes. So this is what does that. This is what affects your DNA, guys. Is this making sense? Is this important? So you see what it is. You see it's in all that stuff. All right, so I mentioned about the ketogenic diet. What does the ketogenic diet have? Mostly it's meats, proteins, and fats. And it causes your body to go into a state of ketosis. There's no sugar there. The cells in your body have a choice of using sugar or ketones. Did you know that? When your body uses ketones, you actually think better, your body's in fat burning, and it's a healthier state to be in. And if you want to starve cancer out of the body, this I know works. Now, based on your DNA, would I recommend that everybody do this? No. But even if it's not specifically agreeable with your DNA, if I had full-blown cancer, this is what I would do until I got my next report. But for some of us, just not being a cancer patient and just for ha-has wanting to do a ketogenic diet, that may not be the best thing for you. Because, for somebody like me, my DNA shows that my body doesn't do as well processing saturated fats. Some of you guys, where your DNA comes from, your lineage, your family lineage, maybe your body does a lot better with handling saturated fats. And so this would be an ideal thing. You could probably live on that. Not a problem. But everybody's a little bit different. But for purposes of our cancer workshop tonight, this actually is very effective at starving cancer out of a person's body. If they're diagnosed with cancer, if they're being treated with cancer, and they want to help themselves, this is something that I know I have seen work time and time again. All right, you asked me, what do we do instead, right? Didn't you ask me that? So here's what we're gonna say. So breakfast. What's the breakfast of champions? The shake. Yeah. The Ultraplex Complete Clean, a protein shake, something with vitamins, antioxidants, good amount of protein, and a low-level detox. This is what I have every morning. Many of you guys have every morning. Take 2 scoops of that, and then along with that, you have some berries, which is a low-sugar fruit, and you have some good fat, almond butter or peanut butter, or just something that will help your body get into fat burning. And this way, you're not reaching for the croissants or the bagels or the donuts or the grains or the oatmeal or the grits, right? Right, Cal? Right. This is it. This is the breakfast of champions because it keeps your blood sugar what? Stable. Keeps your blood sugar stable, and because of that, your body starts off the day in fat burning. Otherwise, if you do all the other stuff, blood sugar goes up, you get a little bit of energy, but then what happens an hour and a half later? You're on your way back down, looking for the coffee pot again, looking for some quick energy, and your body goes back into fat storage. So if you want to be a lean, mean, fat-burning machine, start your day with a shake and with the protein and the good fat. And that's where your energy comes from. I've told this story many times. When I ran the Disney Marathon, 26 miles, it took me 5 hours to do this. I just ran it on fats, water-soaked almonds. That's it, water-soaked almonds, salmon I had the night before. I didn't get all carved up. So the fats are where we really should be getting our best energy from. Did you know that? Here's lunch. What do we have for lunch? Just a salad with a piece of protein on it. You have your salad there with your salmon or chicken, even if you had a piece of grass-fed meat on it. And then, or a Greek salad, same thing. Mediterranean diet is a great diet for most of you in this room. You just don't know it yet. You haven't tried it. Yeah, and what do you want to have on any salad that you have? Extra virgin olive oil. And what else? You could put some avocado oil on it. You could put a little bit of vinegar on it, a little bit of salt, pink salt, and it brings all the flavor out. So what type of dressing do you not want to have? Honey mustard, blue cheese, Thousand Island, ranch. Why? What does that have in it? Chemicals, processed. Corn syrup, thank you very much. All right. Take the extra virgin olive oil with you. Get a little thing of it. If you're not eating, your salad or your lunch at home, take it with you to work. Take that olive oil with you. It will save you. It will keep you in fat burning, and it will keep your blood sugar stable. So these are the little tricks of the trade. How about for dinner? What do you see there? Lamb. Yeah. Grass-fed meat. Can you have that every once in a while? Sure. And what do you see with that? Broccolini. What is it missing that we saw in the picture before? Potatoes. Yeah, so we keep our blood sugar stable. We're not feeding cancer. What else? You got your chicken and green beans, and you got your stir fry without the rice. Holy smokes, Doc. How can I not have my carbs? How am I going to feel full without my carbs? How am I going to, the fats give you the satiety value. Satiety means you're satiated, means you feel full, means you feel satisfied. And guess what? Your digestion's going to be better. You're not going to feel like somebody punched you in the stomach when you walk away from the table, like a balloon, like a basketball growing in there. That's what potatoes and meat do. That's what rice and protein does. That's what bread and protein does. So when you mix those together and your body's trying to digest it together, you have expansion and you feel like somebody kicked you in the gut. You get gassy, you get bloated, you don't feel good. You have allergic responses, your eyelids get heavy. You all know what I'm talking about, right? You know what I'm talking about. It tastes good in the moment when you do that. No different than a hit of cocaine, right? Or a drug. Your body, your brain has the same chemical reaction that you're conditioned to because of that addiction to sugar. But once you break it, you're free. And you're in fat burning. And you feel good and you look good. And you want more of that. And you want that more than the taste of the food. That's when your success is on autopilot. Are you with me? That's when this becomes easy. When you feel so good, you don't ever want to go back. And then when you do, you're like, oh, what did I do? Oh, I'll never do that again. And that happens a couple of times. And then eventually you're like, you do it less and less, right? All right, so number 3. What else can you do, Elaine? Hydrate. Hydrate. Ice cream. Ooh. Yeah. You can do the ice cream. I won't rain on your parade. Okay. So, what's up with hydration and mineral balance? Well, if when you're dehydrated, you're contributing to an acidic blood field, an acidity in your bloodstream. When you become hydrated, you'll notice that your urine is clear, it's not yellow, and you want to, as a rule, try to drink about half your body weight in fluid ounces. Remember we said alkaline water is important, or you could take water and slice a lemon or a lime in half, squeeze it in there. Take a liter bottle like you see me drinking out of this. I carry one of these all day. I have at least 3 of these every day. And you just gently sip on it, gently saturate all day. That helps your body stay slightly alkaline, and it'll also help your body stay in fat burning as well. So the other thing that helps with hydration, believe it or not, is the pink salt. Did you know that? The pink salt? Yeah. Pink salt is a special type of salt that's not super hydrated, and it has all the minerals that your body needs to keep your cells plump like grapes. Otherwise, you could be drinking 3 liters a day, and if you don't have all the minerals in there, all the cells are still pruned up like raisins, and the water just passes through you. So you need to make sure that you have those minerals. That pink salt, super cheap. Just put it on everything. Put it on for your lunch, your salads, your vegetables, every day. And it's very, very tasty. It's not something that's going to make your blood pressure go up. Okay, it's got all the minerals in it. The pink salt, yeah, we have that up there. We have it. It's part of our weight loss program. We make sure that our patients take that on, especially on the weight loss program. You have to stay hydrated because that's how your body releases fat. All right, so we got through some good stuff here, and I think I'm still a little long-winded. Unfortunately, I gotta shut up. All right.
I didn't say that.
So Deborah didn't say that, but she did give me the evil eye. No, I'm just kidding. All right, I just want to recognize a few folks here that have really done a marvelous job with their care. So Deborah's going to show us what a perfect 6 or more workshops looks like. This is our University Core 4 degree, which goes to Ruth Silva. Everybody give her a big round of applause. Nice. 6 or more workshops. Good job. And we have a few people here that have just made their adjusting schedules have been absolutely perfect. Never ever missed an appointment. And we want to recognize some of those people who have been putting in all their hard work, and we really appreciate that. Getting great results too. And one of them is Dorothy Gilzean, another one is Sandra Felix, and the last one is Janie McMillan. So if you guys, if you can't get up, just raise your hand. We're going to come around and crown you with a Medal of Honor. Yes. Good. And Janie is she's just they broke the mold with Janie. She's just one of a kind. And Janie comes in and she got a ride with Sandra. They live in the same building, and Sandra was doing really well. Grabbed Janie, brought her to the office, started taking care of her, and started getting some really great results. And she's just one of those patients with one of those conditions where she got here just in time. And we're just so happy to have you, and so happy that you're doing so well. And I was going to give you the mic, but I won't put that on you right now. I'm sure you're happy about that. But I do want to say thank you on behalf of myself and my team. We just put a little something here. We put a little something here together for you, and just for being so thoughtful. Everybody give her a round of applause. Thank you. Okay, so what we're going to do is just take a little weight, a little pressure off the backside. I'm going to have everybody come and stand up, and we're going to turn and face the person on your right, and the other side, yep, and then you're going to put your hands on their shoulders. Put your hands on their shoulders, and we're gonna do a massage. Just get all the stress out. Get all the stress out there. Good. Awesome. Love your neighbor. Yeah. All right, karate chop. Good. Very nice. All right, turn around and love your other neighbor. Oh, you got it. Okay, good. Very nice. Good. Get all that stress out. Wonderful, wonderful. All right, karate chop. Karate chop, karate chop. Good. Doesn't that feel good? Yeah. All right, give yourself a round of applause. Very nice. All right, have a seat, have a seat. We're not done yet. A couple more things and some more application. So the other thing that causes cancer, you guys know, are toxins, right? What are they? Toxins. Turn to your neighbor and say toxins. So we already established, going from left to the right, that prescription and over-the-counter medication cause cancer. Many of them have cancer-causing, so we know that. What about soap and toothpaste? What's going on with that? Sodium lauryl sulfate, these sudsing agents, known carcinogens. What's up with the deodorant? Aluminum in many of the deodorants. There's thimerosal and mercury in vaccines, childhood vaccines, flu shots. Right, so all this is cumulative. It builds up in us. How about your amalgam fillings? What about amalgam fillings? If you have one amalgam filling, it's 50% mercury. 50% mercury. Many of us have many of those. And then you have the mercury, the thimerosal that was in the contact solutions, wearing contact lenses. Up through the 90s, they had that. Lead in the water supply, lead in lipsticks, lead in paint, lead in gasoline. Now, we may not have lead in the paint and the gasoline now, but guess what? Your parents were in that lead generation, and studies have shown that they pass those genes down to us, and they go out 4 generations. So we're all affected by it at some level. As a newborn, it's found in the cord. It's found in the cord of everybody, hundreds and hundreds of toxins. And these are standard tests, which we know. And the last one, called glyphosate, what is that? Glyphosate is the active ingredient in Roundup. How many of you guys know what Roundup is? Weed killer? Yeah. So what do they put glyphosate in? Well, pretty much it's ubiquitous. It's in all the corn and all the soy, which is what they use to make which foods? Some foods are pretty much all foods today made with corn and soy. Yeah. So this is what we've got going into our food supply. And when it goes into the food supply of mice, for a 2-week period of time where they just pretty much put it in their water supply, this was the result. And what do you see there? Tumors. So can these toxins cause cancer? If it causes it in laboratory animals, does it cause it in humans? Yes. It's just a matter of what? Just a matter of time. And like I said, for you and I, the purpose of this workshop is to understand the internal mechanics. What happens on a DNA level? Because on a DNA level, what you're either doing or not doing or allowing to happen is turning on those cancer-promoting genes and turning off the cancer-fighting genes. It all happens where? Inside the cell. And we talked about, up to this point, sugar, bad fats, and toxins, which all do what? At the surface of the cell, causes inflammation. It destroys the surface of the cell, the membrane of the cell. And now we have a problem with the communication at the surface of the cell. All the antioxidants, all the hormones, the vitamins, minerals, all that stuff trying to get in now has a little bit of a problem, right? And then you have the internal constituents of the cell, like the mitochondria, which makes energy, the powerhouse of the cell. That all has waste products. Where does that go? That's like your flue being closed and you got a fire burning in your house. Where does all that smoke go? It chokes you to death. And when you have this type of internal environment that you're bathing your DNA in, that is exactly what's causing cancer-promoting cells, cancer-promoting genes to be turned on. That's exactly what's causing cancer-fighting genes to be turned off. Are you getting this? Yeah. So this is what's happening at a cellular level because of that environment. Now, for some of you, it's happening worse than others. So with a DNA test, you can tell, because I had my DNA tested, and that's exactly how I know what diet is right for me and what supplements I know to focus on and not skimp on and make sure that I'm taking extra of every day. In a DNA report like this, when you're looking at the detoxification genes, and you can see that the gene impact shows you that This person has a significant disadvantage in terms of 3 out of the 6 genes for detoxing. They have a problem with detoxification. This is a person that really needs to focus on what? Detoxification, because if those toxins don't get out, what are they at a higher risk of getting? Cancer. So same thing with methylation. What is the methylation process in the body? The process of repairing DNA. Repairing what? DNA. Is that important for fighting cancer? So when you look at an individual like this, 7 genes, 4 out of the 7 genes had high risk for not being able to methylate. What does this person need to be focusing on? The supplements that'll support methylation. This is an individual that cannot afford to not know what methylation is or support it. Otherwise, a higher risk of cancer. How about inflammation? What did we say is part of causing cancer? Inflammation, right? So inflammation, when you look at these genes, some inflammation at some level is part of the healing process. But your body also has genes that know when to turn it off. And if those genes are not regulated, if they're not down-regulated and shut off, cancer gets a foothold because that inflammation is spread like wildfire. So that has to be looked at. Those genes need to be looked at. My question to you is, what do yours look like? Do you have an answer for that? Because if you don't, you know the technology is available. You don't have to be in the dark. You don't have to guess. You can get on this like a sniper. You know, we all know that snipers are highly trained professionals that don't miss. They have deadly accuracy. Whatever they aim at, they get. So that DNA report, in my mind, is like, that's your approach. That's your sniper approach. It gives you a complete report in terms of what your genetic tendencies are and how to beat them. Cancer, not just cancer, but heart disease, diabetes, obesity, whether or not you have a tendency to put on weight or lose weight, what your genetic predisposition is for Alzheimer's disease. And again, it's one thing to know what it is, but it's another thing once you find out what your predisposition is, exactly the nutritional and the supplement strategies to get on it, to get right on it and get busy and get proactive. The other thing that's part of this report is what nutrition your body does best with. For me, I know that I do best with a Mediterranean diet. I don't do as well with a keto diet. The Mediterranean diet for me, based on my DNA, is perfect. And I don't guess anymore. I knew it when the second I saw my report because it was consistent with how I felt when I did these things. Same thing with exercise. You know, some of us feel like we have to kill ourselves for 60 minutes on a bike. Like every day, if I don't do an hour of cardio, I put on weight. Well, that could be the reason why you always have a weight problem, because you're not doing the type of exercise that your body does best burning fat with. And again, with this report, totally eliminated the guesswork. I went back to doing the things that I was doing when I felt the best. And it's never been easier for me to keep the weight off. So just very thorough, probably about 20, 30 pages. And if that's something that you're interested in and you think would be valuable to you, the DNA testing is, we do that here in the office. We send it off to the lab, we get a complete report back, and then we sit down with you and we go over the results and show you what nutrition, what exercise, what supplements you exactly need. And that's what eliminates guesswork. Normally it's $395 for the test, the report of findings, the consultation to go over everything with you. You can save $50 if you want to do it tonight. It's tonight only. We give you a little discount for being at the workshop. Let's say, that was the sniper. Now this is the shotgun blast. What's the shotgun? You're still going to hit something, right? It's not like you're going to completely miss. But these are just general supplements. They cannot hurt. So when it comes to cancer prevention, a general low-level detox, is that a good idea? Yeah. Yes, and that's what's part of the complete clean. The shake that I was talking about has a low-level detox because it has high levels of N-acetylcysteine. N-acetylcysteine is what makes glutathione, and glutathione is the master antioxidant in your body that you need for repairing DNA and detoxifying, phase 2 liver detox. So that's what's great about this also. Not only is it a multivitamin, but it also has your antioxidants and a low-level detox, and it's got 26 grams of protein in it, which in and of itself really is a meal replacement, but very, very low in sugar. So, so highly recommend that. At least try it. At least try it. Ultraplex Onco, this is part of your supplement suite. Sulforaphane is the antioxidant component that's cancer preventative. That is something that'll help you, as an anti-inflammatory. It enhances detoxification. Sulforaphane is what you find in kale and broccoli and Brussels sprouts, cruciferous veggies. Except when you take a couple of these, it's like eating 2 pounds of it. So it's highly concentrated. CoQ10 is important for cells, not just with your heart, for heart health, but for every cell. CoQ10 is what's necessary for normal cellular function and replication, cancer preventative. Ultraplex curcumin is known for all scientific standards as an important cancer preventative. It helps cancer to stop metastasizing. It kills cancer stem cells, and it stops the spread of cancer, and it also reduces inflammation. And Ultraplex vitamin D. How many of you guys know how important vitamin D is for your immune system? Well, some studies show that you can reduce your risk of pretty much all cancers by as much as 50% when you have optimal vitamin D levels. So we shoot for 70 or over. If you can get to 70, you're in a good place with your vitamin D. This vitamin D capsule has 5,000 international units. For some of you, it may work. For some of you, you may need more. But that's what our supplement suite is. And the discount is 15% if you get all of them. 15% off of the shake also. But that's for tonight only, just to help you guys make application. Are you learning something important tonight? Being here, is this a valuable experience for you? Are there other people in the community that need to hear what you're learning tonight? So that's why I covet these reviews. When people read reviews, they're like, wow, this looks like a good place. Maybe I'll make an appointment and go there. And they look at all the other chiropractors online, but how many of them do you think are educating their patients with this life-saving information? Few and far between. So if you write a review and that catches somebody's eye, you literally could have very well saved their life. So I want to encourage you to do that. Doesn't cost you anything. But, if you take a snapshot of it and you bring it in, they'll give you a 25% discount, a gift certificate. You could use it on anything you want. So I really appreciate you for doing that. All right, and the last thing, number 5, is proper nerve supply. So this comes from a medical school. Dr. David Felton, one of the professors, said, nerve fibers go into every organ of the immune system. We found that if you took the nerves away from the spleen or the lymph nodes, you virtually stop the immune response in its tracks. So there are certain parts of the spine that actually control your immune system. One of them is up here, the top bone in the neck. That's called your atlas. What's that called? Atlas, because like Atlas in Greek mythology, how he held up the world, remember? When that top bone goes out of alignment and it puts pressure on your brainstem, it lowers your immune system. And the other one down here in your mid-back also has an important connection with your immune system because it innervates the spleen. But your white blood cells, your lymph nodes, everything's under the control of what? Your nervous system. Now, if you have a condition called subluxation, where the bone's out of alignment on the left there, and it's putting pressure on the nerves, if the organs, the white blood cells, the spleen, the thymus, if those parts of the body don't get the proper nerve supply and communication from the brain, what is that doing to your immune system? It's weakening it. And what is that doing to your risk of cancer? Increasing it. Yeah, so Dr. Chung-Hao Su, University of Colorado, found that you could have subluxation, the weight of a dime on one of those nerves, and reducing the nerve supply by as much as how much? 60%. The weight of a dime. Did you get that? Did you get that? So you get that little amount of pressure can be shutting off vital nerve supply to your spleen, to your lymph nodes, right? To any part of your body that controls your immune system. And what is it doing? Increasing your risk of cancer. Caused by bones out of alignment in your back, which you may not even feel. Is that a good reason to have your spine checked every once in a blue moon? Yeah, for those of you who are guests, my patients, they're getting checked regularly. For those of you who don't have a chiropractor, this is why this is so important. You could eat good, you could exercise, you could take all the supplements till the cows come home. But none of that does you any good if your brain can't communicate out with your organs. So research on HIV-positive patients, AIDS patients, showed that those who received the chiropractic care showed a 48% increase in their white blood cell count compared to those who didn't receive chiropractic care. And where did they get adjusted? In one area. Boosted their immune system by almost 50%. Is that important? Yeah, and I've seen this time and time again when I have gone and I have donated my time to AIDS clinics. I actually did this. I had people sitting in chairs just like this, and all I did was just go down the line and adjust their atlas, the top bone. That's all I did. And then they gave me the report like a month later, and what did I see with all their white blood count? All went up. I was at the hospital this past Friday. One of my patients, I haven't seen him in a while. He was out getting some kind of immune therapy, and he came back on the plane, picked up COVID, and he's been in the hospital struggling. So I went there, and he's in a rehabilitative place down in Los Olas, and he's sitting up in the hospital bed. And I said, is it okay if I adjust you? Yes. I said, you understand that this top bone right here, this is what is intimately involved in helping with your immune system. Yes. Is it okay if I adjust you? Yes. Sitting in the hospital bed, I just adjusted the top bone. I can't tell you how many thousands of times I've done that. You know, wouldn't occur to anybody, like, what are you going to do for somebody in a hospital? Well, somebody who has less interference to the nerve system, wouldn't they be better off? Wouldn't their immune system be better off if they got adjusted? Right? If somebody had COVID, wouldn't they be better off adjusted with a healthier nervous system than not? Have I gone and adjusted people with COVID? Yes. Have I gotten it? No, not from being around them. I had a mask on and whatever, but if my immune system is functioning at 100%, my immune system knows how to deal with that. And that's why you have people that are asymptomatic and they're so-called spreading the virus. But in reality, it's no different than any virus or any bacteria that we've ever had since God created man and woman, right? So, or God created man. So that's why it's not about the bacteria or the virus. It's about the what? The host, yeah. So when we look at these things, we have to understand that you're always better off without nerve interference. And then the last story that I want to tell you is about a patient who was under my care. This was a few years ago. And, you know, I went over this with him because he told me that he had stage 4 metastatic cancer. It metastasized from his spine to his lungs. And this was many, many years ago. I think this was back in 02 or 03. It was a long time ago. And he told me that, and I shared with him this. I said, you know, there are studies that show people under chiropractic care 5 years or more have immune systems on average 300% stronger. And he started care in 1998, so he was already under care about 5 years or more. I said, Peter, your immune system, even though that you have cancer, your immune system is stronger than you would think. So he's like, well, do you think I should continue with care? I said, well, if it was me or you or my dad, I would say yes. And I wouldn't be adjusting you on a maintenance plan every other week. I'd be adjusting you like every day, at least three times a week. So for some reason he trusted me, and he came in 3 times a week. And he got his chemotherapy treatments, and it took its toll on him, lost all his hair. It beat him up pretty good. And then the cancer was gone, and he kept getting adjusted. A year went by, 2 years by. 2 years went by, his cancer came back. Did another chemotherapy treatment. But he was still getting adjusted 3 times a week. He still kept up with it. And, you know, you could tell, like, 2nd, 3rd, 4th year, he was already looking 10 years older. And he said to me, he said, Doc, you know, I know this chemotherapy is killing me. He's like, I'm not sure it's the best thing to do, but I don't know what else to do. He's like, I know the adjustments are helping me stay alive. And he's like, I don't expect to live forever, but my grandson is supposed to be bar mitzvahed here in a couple of years. If I could just make it to just to see his bar mitzvah, that's all I could ask. I said, you know what? I'll do my part, and God will do his part. Lord willing, you'll be there at his bar mitzvah. And he never stopped coming in, kept coming in for his adjustments 3 times a week. Guy's been under my care at least 10 years. Never missed an appointment, kept doing his chemotherapy, and it kept sucking the life out of him, but he knew how the adjustments helped his body do the best that it could under the circumstances he was in. Not that it was a cure for his cancer. You guys get that? Not that it's a cure for cancer or a cure for COVID or a cure for AIDS. It's not a cure for anything, but it helps your brain better comprehend its environment and its body so that it can respond and coordinate, function at the best level that it possibly can. Essentially, you being the best you could possibly be. How many of you guys want to be 100% of your God-given potential? All of us, right? And Peter knew that. And he did the best he could. You know, so make the long story short, that's the picture of Michael at his bar mitzvah. And Peter was there to see that. And he passed a few short weeks after that. But he was happy because that's all he wanted to do. That was the only thing that was important to him. He knew he wasn't going to live forever. And in the end, he knew that the chemotherapy killed him, not the cancer. He knew that. He knew that. But you do the best that you can, right? Everybody has a different approach. I honor that approach, whatever it is. Don't ever think that I would pass judgment on you or anybody else. But I will say this, regardless of whatever a person does, they're always better off getting chiropractic adjustments. They're always better off getting chiropractic care. They're always better off without the nerve interference. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, next time you get a cough, sniffle, sneeze, flu, a this, a that, what's the most beneficial thing that your body could get? Is it what? An adjustment. Yeah, an adjustment. Yeah. Not that it's a cure for it, but again, make sure you clear out your nervous system so your body can do the best that it can and be the best that it can be. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just going to close up with that. And if you're a guest here and you don't have a chiropractor, if you'd like me to take a look at you, I don't know if you have health issues or you don't. If you just want to have your nerve system checked because it makes sense, then what we do is we start with a consultation. We do an evaluation. We do a thermal scan. We use this NASA space technology to scan your spine and see if there are any issues there. And if there are, and we need to take x-rays, then we always look at the x-rays next to the scan, and we make sense of whether or not you have a condition and something needs to be done or not. And based on all that testing, we review those results with you. We give you a full comprehensive evaluation and report. Now normally, for the consult, the exam, the x-rays, the report of findings, everything, it's usually about $360. But if you're a guest here tonight, we're doing that for only $97. So there's a special gift certificate that they have at the front for guests for tonight only. If you'd like to take advantage of that, please see them up front. That's for that new patient appointment, and they can tell you what we have available. And for those of you who need to get tested for your DNA, if that's something that you need to get done, see Deborah for that appointment. Also see them up front for any new patient appointments. And the supplements also, if you need to get any of the supplements, there's limited supplies. So they're there for you now. Guys, thank you so much for being here. I love and appreciate you. God bless.